how you do one thing is how you do all things. So it even comes down to the small details of stuff. If and maybe some people have heard this. If not, it's a good first time. I judge people by small things, and it's not on how they dress. And this is not something I made up either. It's just something that goes around. But if it's a first time, it's a great thing to adopt. I judge people by things like this. Do you put the shopping cart back when you go and you unload your groceries? And like, do you just like leave it there or do you walk it back? And so that's been so commonly said throughout time, and enough people know it. So to add another layer on top of that, well, if there's another shopping cart along the way, do you also grab two and put it back?
Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, my healthy high performers, and welcome back. We have a beautiful interview today with Dylan Shively. So Dylan is an Army vet, a devoted family man. He founded James Warren Group and Dispute Eagle to empower people with credit knowledge and tools. Driven by personal setbacks with his own credit, he's dedicated to revealing the truth about credit and protecting individuals from fraud. His firms offer comprehensive credit management services, and he's a recognized speaker and author, impacting over 11,000 people and aiming for millions more. Dylan also hosts a podcast simplifying business and personal growth topics and cherishes his role as a husband and father. Connecting with him offers insight into a significant influence on the credit industry and beyond. Talking to Dylan was such a breath of fresh air. He offers so much valuable insight on life, and he is a true embodiment of the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And he really breaks it down in a really simple form that's easy for us to take golden nuggets away from his interview. So without further ado, enjoy. Get your pens and paper ready. This was a really, really impactful session, and I can't wait to share it with you all. Super excited to have you on the show. For those that don't know, Dylan and I met over at the Blocks. We were recorded for season 13, a competitive entrepreneurial show for all things business and learning and expansiveness. And when I met Dylan, you weren't ever in any of my pods, but we met through a mutual friend, and your energy was so charismatic. I already knew you knew what you were doing in business. Like, your energy spoke volumes, and you helped me greatly with one of my pressing questions at the time of the week. So I was like, I got to get this guy on my show. He's such a master of his mindset, and I want you to share all of your gems with us. So for those that don't know, Dylan, can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what led you to create James Warren Group and Dispute Eagle, and just more about what that is?
Yeah. So one, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
And thank you for the intro. So all how it started was I was my own first customer. But so going back into that journey of how that happened, I have car sales background. So
Okay.
I went into management, I went into finance, and money was good, but hours sucked. And so I would miss birthdays, funerals, weddings, get-togethers, everything.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even a business owner. You expect that then. But I was missing everything. And I had the money, but I didn't have the time. So then I went into retail. And that transition into retail, the money was obviously completely different. But I thought I was being smart. I was saving my money. I had a cushion. About 2.5 years into retail, they give me an offer to buy one of the stores. So this is my first real big boy business.
Sure.
Because I get to buy a store. That's nuts. People would drive by and I'm like, that's mine. I own it. I have equity in there. So it was great. But then I started learning retail had different seasons and quarters mattered. So I started learning about P&Ls, and when I was in sales, if I didn't sell, I just didn't make money. But as an equity owner of a store, If the store
Mhm.
didn't make money, I still had to pay people their hourly and their salary and everything. I still had
Mhm.
to pay for devices and items on consignment. And so I was learning what business was about. It's like you have to have it no matter what your store does. You
Right,
have no other choice but to get it done if you want to stay in business.
right, right.
So I started maxing out cards. All types of things started happening. I had a car repoed. My credit was shot. My credit was
Okay.
good. My credit was shot. So I started Googling, looking for a company, hired one. And the reason I hired them was because they told me they can solve my problem. So understanding that, I'm like, I'm in a desperate spot. I have employees to pay. I got bills and my own invoices to pay. Like, forget my own personal stuff. I'm already letting that go. And
Mm,
I'm just looking for someone to help me. So when somebody tells me they can help me, like, even in the slightest bit of belief I have, I'm in because it's going to
mm,
get me out of this hole.
absolutely.
It was the complete opposite. So once they took my money, it was about $2,000 later, and my score was about 150 points less than what it was when I first enrolled.
Damn.
I quit. I was like, I'm out. Fuck you guys. I don't even know if I could say that, but it's
Okay.
here. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, fuck you guys. I'm out. And I was done. So I did what any angry customer would do. I went to Facebook. I went to Instagram. I started Google reviewing. I
Yeah.
started figuring out videos. Like I was doing everything I could. I was creating multiple Gmails so I could leave multiple reviews. Like
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
getting creative. And
Yeah.
I went on about this 60-day binge where I was just pissed. So again, I'm venting. And I hate saying this because I've seen plenty of podcasts where people use this in a different form. So I hate using this so close to that, but I don't know another way how to explain it.
Okay.
It was about 2 months in, and it was just one of those days where like it hit me. It was just like, I woke up one day, but like I really did. Like I woke up one day and realized, wait, no matter how much I continue to do this, my situation isn't going to change. So then I had to realize, like, if I want to change my situation, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Because in that whole 60 days I wasted, I could have put that energy into figuring out how to do it or hiring another company or just letting
Sure.
it go.
Yeah.
So that's what started with James Warren Group because I started working on my own credit. I felt like I was obligated to update everybody I've been telling about my bad experience. So
Mm,
as I started learning, I was my own test dummy, and things that worked, I would post it. So I would say, like,
mm,
hey, look, my scores went up X amount. This is what I did. Hey, remember that company I told you about? You don't even need them because look, I did it on my own. And
mhm,
so I
mhm.
would constantly post updates. And then what people would do is they would, first comment, show love. It was all good. But then when the serious stuff would get posted, people would DM me,
Mhm, mhm,
hey, how did you do that? Because I have the same situation. How
mhm.
did you get that removed? How did you get your score to go up? How did you get approved for this card? How did you do this? So I would just tell people. And then fast forward, retail, right when this happened, we were in Q1 of retail, which is the slowest time because specifically in wireless sales. So I was with a Verizon franchise.
Okay.
So like November, December is great because everyone's like Black Friday, Christmas shopping, and
Sure.
every new
Yeah.
phones,
Q4
iPads,
is
everything.
fantastic. Yes.
Right. So we
Yeah.
overhire, right,
Oh,
to handle with that.
yeah, yeah.
But then Q1, everyone spent their money. We're not going to get another surge till tax time. But when it costs you $25,000 a month just for your store to be open,
Mm,
like, and you know that your store didn't make that, it barely made that on Q4 on the busiest times.
yeah.
So anyway,
Mm,
um, that's where it started. So I was like, you know what? I'm losing money here, but then I'm having people DM me with new cars they bought, showing keys to apartments and houses. And they're like, man, what you did for me worked. And I wasn't selling anything at this point. I was just telling
Mm-hmm.
them what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So people are getting houses, people are getting cars, people are getting credit cards, people are getting personal loans to go pay up to date for their apartment so they're not evicted. They're catching up on bills. And
Amazing.
I was like, wait a minute. It was one of those transitions where I was like, I like this. I like when somebody messages me and tells me about this.
This feels good.
And
Yeah.
instead of like, hey, my phone's not working for this reason, what do I do about it?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what started everything. It was seeing that I could actually help people, but it really started with me. So,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So for me, like what I'm reading from or what I'm understanding from your story is that you took a pain in your life and you made it into a passion to not only help yourself but also help others.
yeah.
And when we're learning about business, like that's like the biggest thing. It's like, right? It's like you can do something that's going to make you a lot of money, hopefully, or at least, make you pay your bills and be afloat and be happy in life. Or you could have a passion, which it sounds like this thing is for you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it changed your life completely, and you were able to change the life of others, but before even turning it into a business. So it was a win-win all around.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because I'll tell you this, fast forward to things that happened today. Now, anybody who would watch it, because obviously, I'll be sharing it and putting it out too. Maybe this is a great time for me to say it to give some context. There are some people I come across and they mean this as a compliment. Like they genuinely mean it as a compliment. So I get weird and I explain it to them right away when I give them a response, because something that I'll never do is like I have too much integrity to lie to somebody. So when they tell me something, I got to tell them how I feel about it.
Okay.
So, and sometimes it could be annoying, sometimes it could be frustrating, but you'll always get the truth from me. So I've had people like hear me speak because mostly they'll see how I dress. I mean, how you saw me on TV, like,
Can I talk about that?
oh
Can I
yeah,
talk about okay,
come
so
on.
so Dylan, for me, listen, I'm getting to know you better on this podcast episode, and I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. I love hearing people's stories. But when I saw you, I, your energy spoke volumes, like I said initially. And I was like, this man is really fucking smart. And I was like, he dressed so fucking chill. This man was in sweats
Yeah,
the entire fucking mind you, this is hopefully, will be aired on Prime. Like this is gonna
mhm.
be seen in front of a lot of people. And I'm over here stressing of like I'm a new fairly new mom. I'm like, I'm like, what do
Mhm.
I wear? All the things. And like here's Dylan looking super chill in sweats all fucking
Mhm.
day. And if he picks up that mic, we're listening because we're
Yep.
tuned in and he has a lot to say and a lot to give back. And so yeah, you're the epitome of like, I don't want to get into your finances unless you want to talk about it, but
I
it's
don't.
like clearly this man's got it and he doesn't give a
Yeah,
fuck what he's wearing, because again, your energy speaks volumes.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So the story behind that'll kind
Yeah,
of go right into it.
yeah.
So what will happen is people will see me because, especially like, so I live in San Antonio for anybody who doesn't know, and it's always very warm here. So we moved here because one of the requirements that I told my wife when we were choosing somewhere to live, I was like, I hate wearing pants. I'm over wearing pants. Like I just want to rock shorts and a t-shirt. Like that's just me. When I'm in the outfit I'm comfortable in, that's how I perform. So
Mm,
anyway, it's always been a part of me, and I'll tell that story here in a second. But just to answer the first one with a compliment, so people will see me, they'll judge how I look, and
mhm,
then they're already telling themselves a story in their mind of who I am,
mm,
without even hearing anything.
sure.
So, which is fine. It's whatever. People do it. Then they hear me speak, and they'll come to me, and some will tell me, "Hey, you know what? I gotta check myself. Like, I didn't expect what I just heard from you based on how I judged you when I saw you." We can
Mm,
all say don't judge a book by its cover, but we all do it. It's a
mhm,
natural thing. There's nothing wrong with it.
yeah.
Um, so that happens. And then they'll say this, and they mean it as a compliment. Like anybody who said it to me, I've understood they were genuinely saying a nice thing. Dylan, I think you're made for like more than just credit. You're like that, like after hearing you speak, after hearing what you do, I think you're going to do even bigger things
I
than
can
credit.
attest to that.
And
Yes.
right, so I'm like, wow, like that's great, thank you. But
Mm-hmm.
then here's where the obligation of the explanation comes. I'm like, let me tell you how much I love it and what it's done for me and what it's done for people, which is why I take it as a compliment. But the one part of me I have burning inside has to tell you why the other half of me doesn't.
Okay.
Because if you knew how powerful credit was and what it's done for people,
Yeah.
like what I physically watched it do for people,
Yeah.
like not to get in a dark moment for a second, but if you look up the statistics of what causes suicide, depression,
Let's talk
people
about it.
splitting up,
Yeah.
divorces,
Yep.
families getting split, but
Mm-hmm.
then on the positive side too, growing families, people that are going through it, single moms, homeless vets, like we've helped every single one of them,
Mm.
meaning people in that category. So when you have somebody who has left their family because they did some wrong shit and they wanted to take accountability. They left the house and the cars and everything to the wife and kids. They went on their own, but they didn't have the credit to go and get a place to live. So they've been living in their truck for a couple months and
Yeah.
they stretch their paycheck to Airbnbs. And then when they run out, they go back to the truck. They don't have a place to wash their clothes. They have an LA gym membership. I'm talking about a specific client, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And would go and wash his clothes at LA Fitness, right? Didn't even like had the gym membership just to wash his clothes and take the shower because he
Mm.
had nowhere to go most days throughout the week. He didn't have enough money to last throughout it. So when you have single moms that have a lot of things happen to them where they've done nothing wrong and now they're trying to take care of their kids,
Mm-hmm.
like I have stories for days.
Yeah.
So when it comes to credit, I actually love it because most people only think about credit when it comes to I need to buy a house or I need to buy a car. So I'm not saying this is I'm trying to explain it in a sense of this is why I go so hard about it because I want to tell more people how impactful it actually is
Yeah.
outside of buying things. And I think if they would grasp that, they
Mm-hmm.
would probably retract the you're made for things bigger than credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
Because
touch so much. Mm-hmm.
it's a again, it's a compliment. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
it's not a compliment, but it's like, man, if you've been through it, like I've been through it, if you heard the stories, like I heard the stories, if you got the people crying, calling you, like it happens to me, you would say like,
This is
man, you're
enough.
exactly where you need to be.
Correct. This is more
You know
than
what I mean? And you need to go bigger within credit because if people knew, you know what I mean? But
enough.
again, long explanation, but sometimes I say that to people. Like it happened about 4 or 5 days ago. I was filming content for a class I'm going to do at this title company for agents. And even the guy said it. He was like, man, you're like really good on camera and this and this and this. He's like, I can't believe you do just credit. And it was like half a trigger and half like, thank you, because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So when I hear it, I just want to do a better job at letting people know
Yeah.
how impactful it is. And then I think they would probably switch it up because, like, compliment to me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I'm like putting the industry on my shoulders
Yeah.
to say, like, nah, you need to know how real
I
this
think
really is.
Yeah, I think it's a lack of education on how
Mm-hmm.
impactful credit really is. So I
Mm-hmm.
think so, we learned of the blocks, like there's companies that or industries that we can go into that people either know a lot about already and you have to do the work to make yourself stand out, or
Yep.
educating the masses on what it is that you actually do to get people to sign up for your services. And I
Yep.
think you're doing both because credit is well known, but there's because of your experience, which are probably a lot of people experiences with other credit companies, they're like, oh, like it's important, but like they don't really help or whatever their notion of that experience was. Meanwhile, you're doing something here that is the exact opposite. You're helping people. People are crying and coming to you with testimonials of like, holy crap, you've changed my life. So on your understanding and receiving of things, it's like I'm doing all that I need to do and more. I need to do a better job of educating you on exactly how this could actually change your life and the life
Yep.
of others. And if you saw and understood that impact, then you wouldn't say that second comment of like you could be doing so much more.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I see you as a leader, Dylan. I mean, that's why you're here. But you're very much, yeah, you're great on camera. Like you're a jack of all trades, as many entrepreneurs are. You know, and it's like, how can we put all of those things into our bigger mission? And I think for you, which you're probably already doing, but if you're not, telling more of your story, like what you just shared with me here, in your content, which I'm sure you're doing, but that is what's going to sell because you're teaching people why this is so important. Because I'm learning through you. Like I knew what credit was, but like now that you're talking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe I should contribute. Like literally, like and I'm sure people on this podcast too will also probably be thinking the same thing because you seem to have created a program or algorithm where you're able to help a lot of people and not break the bank. And that was one of your things that I
Yeah.
remember seeing from your commercials. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super important. Like, and that's where, and I'll let you lead off with this, but this is why we created Dispute Eagle. So like James Warren Group, we've been doing this for 8 years,
Okay.
and so we would come across, and I think pricing's pretty fair. Like we're not the cheapest, but we're definitely nowhere near the most expensive. There
Right.
are some people that charge 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. There was one guy getting charged $4,000. So, and that's just what I've heard over time. So I'm sure there's probably somebody who charges more.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
for us, we charge anywhere from $500 to $900, and that's not like per month. That's total,
That's
right?
am-
And
that's
and
amazing.
and
Yeah.
we do that for that reason. Like if someone's coming to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm struggling financially,
Mm-hmm.
and I need help with this, and I just need a little bit of breathing room," then why would I charge them 1,500, 2,000, $2,500? If they had that kind of money laying around, they could make a big dent in some of their credit card debt, which is probably the main reason that their score is down. And then
Mm-hmm.
they could get a personal loan and put all of it on the personal loan to free up the credit cards and see their scores go up super high and get what they need. That's the thing. So I don't charge anything for information. And I put so much information between our business, both business Facebook and Instagram posts, and also my personal. I put so much information out there that you don't even need me. And that's the part. I don't gatekeep information. I actually expose people that gatekeep information. And then I also expose people that sell the information that if someone took 5 minutes to go online for, they can find.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't charge for information no matter what. People call me even about business credit. Like, hey Dylan, what does it cost for me to talk to you about this? I'm going to start building business credit. This is my business stuff, whatever. And I'm like, nothing. I can tell you everything you need in under 5 minutes. Do you have 5 minutes? And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, seriously? Yeah. All right, let's do it. I
Yeah.
tell them step by step what they need. It's a lot more simple than they expected, and it gets them right to what they need. And then they're telling me like, wait, I paid a course for somebody to tell me some of this, and you told me more than the person in the course. And I'm like, I don't gatekeep information. The
Mm-hmm.
only time I'll charge somebody is if they're actually hiring us to perform a service.
Mm-hmm.
So then we come across more and more people that they've just been burned by too many companies. And
Mm-hmm.
so the trust factor isn't there. It doesn't matter how good I speak, it doesn't matter how much information I give. There's just that thing they're not ready to let go of. They don't want to get burned again.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have a lot of money and people are very predatory in my industry, that makes you very defensive. You want to hold on to your money. So it doesn't matter. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we put Dispute Eagle in place. So now what this allows people to do is it's only $39 a month and it's no contract. You could try it 1 month and cancel it. It doesn't matter. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't contract anybody for any length of time, but it'll create dispute letters for people. So if they have late payments, charge offs, collections, bankruptcies, anything,
Wow.
it'll create everything for them in under 5 minutes. It's literally a couple clicks, and then it creates the letter, drops it in your email. You just have to print it out, sign it, and mail it off. So there's no thinking. You don't have to learn how to read a credit report. You don't have to figure out laws, what to say, how to say, where to mail it. It even prints out instructions of exactly how to mail it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me putting my money where my mouth is over the years when I've told people, you can do this yourself. But you hire a credit repair company for convenience. Don't let them sell you that they can do something you can't. And then so now Dispute Eagle's been like a super disruptor because we just came up on 2 years that we've had it out. And so other credit repair companies hate me because I'm proving that it's like, no, they don't need us. They really don't. It's convenience based. People will pay if they don't want to deal with it. That's where we come in. But you should not sell people a book of lies that says, oh, we got this special letter, we got this hack, we got this secret, we got this. All of it's bullshit. None of it's true. The only thing that's true is there's an algorithm to credit. We understand it. But then we also teach it if you want to learn it. There's 5 factors that go into the score. If you can know those, you'll be able to answer every question you ever have about credit. It will start to make sense. And then use the system so you don't have to think. If they use Dispute Eagle, the hardest part is creating the letters. It does it for them. So, yeah, anyway.
I love that. So I'm getting to know you better, and you're a heart-centered person. Like, you're really in this to help other people. And, in my time of interviewing other entrepreneurs and just being in the game, when you find people like that, your profits speak for itself because you're doing it for the right reasons, right? And so I want to learn a little bit more about what made you become that way. So thank you for your services. I understand that you are a veteran. Can you tell me how, serving for the country and your experiences there, did that have a large impact on your mindset and the way that you run business today?
Oh, 100%. So I was in the Army, and I was 91 Mike. I was a Bradley mechanic. So I was in the motor pool. I was working on stuff because as I grew up, I always liked cars. I like motorcycles. Like, that's all the tattoos and everything. Like, I was about bike life for like a whole long time. If you dig deep enough, probably more on my Instagram because I use it less. So it's easier to like go back there. You can see some things that you'd probably be surprised. But I was like really about that life back in the day. And anyway, so when I went into the Army, it changed everything because it changes how you think. Like, you are forced. I mean, you're essentially brainwashed into like, let me explain the first 5 days. This is what will make it make sense. I don't know if they do this now because I know we got all this like new Army shit and people are a lot softer than what they used to be. But the Army that I was put in, when you went through everything and you got to your station and you're sitting the first 5 days, you're in a room with a bunch of other people with the lights on and you're just sitting on a bench and you can't go to sleep for 5 days.
Wow.
So they're in there sitting watching you. You cannot go to sleep for 5 days. So you're sitting there, and like for me, I don't sleep a lot to begin with. So I'm like, got it. But here's the thing. They don't tell you anything. They don't tell you it's going to be 5 days. You're on a need-to-know basis. So you learn faith, right? Like, you learn, like, you just got to trust the process. You got to trust you're in good hands, even though you don't know anybody in the room. You also got to be protective, but then you also start seeing, like, if one person falls asleep, we all get fucked up. So now you're learning to help other people selflessly because, one, you don't want to have anything happen to you because they would always do it that way. So, like, if somebody fucked up, that person never got in trouble. Everyone around them got in trouble, and that would turn into like a couple hours of run up and down this hill, do push-ups, do sit-ups, do it. Like, it would just be like physical. I don't want to say torture, but like it was intense. So anyway, you would naturally just learn you're looking out for other people because, one, it's for you too. Like, you don't want to get in trouble for whatever. But then, like, in the beginning stages when you don't know, you're like, oh, fuck this person. We just had to do 1 hour of push-ups, and now I'm sore as hell because all he did was this one thing.
Yeah.
But then you learn, well, how do we help each other avoid those things over time? And then we start working as a unit together. And we didn't know, like, I couldn't explain this while I was in, but like now that I'm out, it makes a whole lot of sense. So like you do things without thinking, but you lead from the front. I hear a lot of people say like they're afraid to pioneer things because that's where you get like all the swords in the back, whatever. but I'm built for that. Like, I
Mm.
lean into things I'm afraid of because of the Army. I help people without even thinking about it because of the Army. I still hold like
Mm.
the Army core values. So like having like integrity and character and doing the right thing, like that's ingrained in me. That'll never go away.
Mm.
So to answer the question, yes, everything that I do, if you think about it, it's a service-based business. So I
Yeah.
learned how to be of service to people I've never met before and
Yeah.
make sure I'm doing it with integrity and good character and being willing to go as far as I need to make sure that I can help that person without even really knowing them. So
That's a commercial to join the army if that wasn't anything else.
don't do that shit. Don't do that. Don't do
um, no, but that's
that.
amazing. And so,
Yeah.
my husband's a veteran as well. So, I've learned a lot through him too. And, it's the notion that you're only as strong as your weakest link, and you
Hmm.
learn to love on them, right? It's like in the beginning you get tight at them and you're mad. It's like, come on,
Yep.
stop slacking, all the things, and it's like, well, how are we going to make this better? And
Yep.
come together as a unit and push forward. So yeah, and that definitely translates into business.
Oh, 100%. I say how you do one thing is how you do all things. So it even comes down to the small details of stuff. If and maybe some people have heard this. If not, it's a good first time. I judge people by small things, and it's not on how they dress. And this is not something I made up either. It's just something that goes around. But if it's a first time, it's a great thing to adopt. I judge people by things like this. Do you put the shopping cart back when you go and you unload your groceries? And like, do you just like leave it there or do you walk it
Hmm.
back? And
Hmm.
so that's been so commonly said throughout time, and enough people know it. So to add another layer on top of that, well, if there's another shopping cart along the way, do you also
That one
grab
up.
two and put it back?
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody say, "Oh, I put mine back," but if you
Yeah.
walk by seven of them, you're still an asshole. So like, oh, but that's not my job. I don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Hmm.
You just made someone else's day a little bit better because that shopping cart person's probably ready to come out and would be like, wait, did everybody just put their stuff back? And you
Hmm.
just made this person's day a little bit better without trying to take any of the credit for it or wait. Don't sit and wait there to be like, oh, yeah, it was me. I wanted to help. That's not the point of doing it. You just do
Yeah.
it because it's the right thing to do. Right. So there's that. And then there's also, there's a couple of them, but it's just these small little practices when you're paying attention to details, and you'll see how this correlates to business. So when you walk by, whether it's a grocery store, somebody's house, wherever you are, if you're just walking by, like I even did it in the hotel. So when I came out of the bathroom, like the sinks are like always wet, right?
Hmm.
Because like people like wash their hands and they just, for whatever reason, don't clean up after themselves.
Hmm.
So it took me 30 seconds and I grabbed a bunch of the paper towels and I just wiped them down and threw it away. And
Hmm.
then the guy that was in there cleaning he was like looking at me and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's a habit. I can't, just leave that. And he was like, no, thank you. Like it was a help. Like obviously you still got to like thoroughly clean it,
Sure.
but just the act of doing that, like it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you will walk by and let a little paper stay on the floor, because you're like, it's somebody else's garbage and somebody else's job. If you
Hmm.
leave the water around the sink, or like for men, like, if you're peeing standing up and you leave pee on the toilet, like that's
Yep.
fucking disgusting.
Yep.
Right. So like now you're making the experience for the next person worse. So that
Hmm.
shows me what your standards are. If you don't pay attention to those little details and
Hmm.
you don't try to clean up after yourself, that will carry into your business because most businesses fail not for the big things, they fail for the small things, the small details that they miss.
Yep.
So if you're doing that personally, I know you're carrying that into your business, and people think they got to make these big changes in their business, and they don't. It's the
Hmm.
small things that accumulate and compound over time that help make the big changes.
I love that message. I'm gonna bring in another example from the show. That's where we met. When I saw you lead, like you said, talk about pioneering and leading from the front, and
Mhm.
so the way that you do one thing is the way that you do many things, and so or everything. And talking to you was always a breath of fresh air. So listen, we're in a room full of entrepreneurs who we've been chosen, 200 people from like over, I don't know what the number is, but over 50,000 applicants, let's just say,
Yeah.
right? And so we're all type A. We're all about our business. We're all about our shit. And we have our ducks in a row for the most part, right? And we're there to learn and grow and expand and all the things. And so when you're one of many, you might be the head honcho in your little home community, but when you go there, it's like everyone's the head honcho. And so what I loved about you and your presence was that ego. I talk a lot about ego and mindset in my field of work. And listen, we're human. We are egoic. It is normal to have an ego. It's healthy to have an ego. And so sometimes, for me in business, my biggest thing that I remind myself of and my clients too is like it has to be bigger than you. Your mission, your sole purpose, your dharma, why you were put here on this earth at this time in this lifetime. What impact are you creating for the masses? Because when you get into our small mindset thinking of just our business, you think about numbers, which is important. You have to be fruitful in all the things. You need revenue to have a great impact. But sometimes the entrepreneur, you get lost in the sauce of like, well, what's the greater bigger picture, and then also like your goals that's going to help you have a fruitful home and life so that you're well taken care of, so that your clients and your mission is well taken care of. So it's that act of balance. And when I spoke to you for the first couple of days, we were there for what, 5-6 days,
Yeah.
like much longer because we were working around the clock. But
Yeah.
those first couple of days, I didn't even know what you did. I didn't even
Mhm.
know what your business was. You were just always there, providing value to wherever you saw fit, like the bathroom or the other examples that you use. And so, yeah, it spoke volumes. That's how I knew. I'm like, whatever this man does for a living, I know he's killing it because he doesn't even have to fucking advertise it. It's just in his actions of helping others, how well he's able. And you were helping me with, for me, it was coaching stuff within my own business of like, how can I have my message be heard even clearer and things of that sort. So nothing to do with credit, but it doesn't matter because it's your integrity, it's your active leadership, it's how you lead. And so I just wanted to bring that point back in because yeah, you're absolutely right. We didn't have to know what you did to know that what you're doing is making a grand impact.
No, I appreciate that. That's awesome. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, I learned a lot from there's two guys. So there's a group that I'm a part of, and I've been a part of them for a couple of years. And so it's almost ran like military in a sense. But they are very high level achievers. If I were to say their name, you would immediately know who they are. Um, but like that group's a little bit different. And I've learned to pick up those things from them because that group has a standard. So in just the one word of the name of the group, the term that it represents is excellence, right? And so it's like personal excellence in serving people and doing the right thing. So
Mm,
so hearing that, I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually doing the thing because it's hard. And I think we can
yeah.
all agree you don't realize you're doing something great in the moment, until somebody either mentions something, they say something, or like you reflect back on it and hear something. And this goes for anybody that's listening with any industry or whatever business that you're doing. You don't realize you're doing something great. It doesn't feel like you're making an impact when you're in the process of making the impact. Like when you're in the moment, you have no idea. Like I
Yeah.
would have never known that if you would have said it.
Mm,
And the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, I'm following the group. I'm doing the right thing because they say this is how you have to be. And
yeah.
unconsciously, I didn't even realize that, holy shit, I'm doing the thing. Like that was probably the biggest win of everything.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
because that's something I really wanted to make sure that I did. I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that when I show up somewhere that people can like take from me. I can give them something. They can walk away with something and learn something new. So like I take information and I try to learn how can I apply it to somebody else to give it to them because I wish I had those two guys in my first couple of years of business because I would have been
Yeah.
even further.
Yeah.
So I want to be that person for people. I love giving information. I love helping people. I like seeing people win. I'm also very competitive. I do have an ego, and I agree 100% that you have to have an ego because
It's
that
balance.
will correlate into how you do certain things. But there's also that fine line that you learn. There's a difference of having an ego versus being an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like you develop a little bit of an ego because it's a blend of like being competitive and having this vision,
It's
and then
your vision and it's your
right,
vision. Yes. Yeah.
right. You know, but then you got to make sure that you're not an asshole because some people will let that ego get ahead of them. Like their ego outweighs their success level,
Yeah.
right? So then this is where people find you as arrogant. And I think
Mhm.
it was on one of the days. I don't know if I was around you that day because I know we were kind of all over the place sometimes. But
Yeah.
one of the shirts that I wore was it says "Ego kills talent," right? So
Mm.
when I was wearing that around, people were like, "I like your shirt. I like your shirt. I like your shirt." And it's like it's not mine.
Mm.
It's not my brand or my company.
Yeah.
But it was "Ego kills talent," and it's one of my favorite shirts that I have because it's just like a great reminder. You could be super talented, but if you let your ego get in the way, nobody gives a fuck how talented you are if you're an asshole about it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
A big part of my work, I love this whole topic because we're human, so we have egos. But yes, don't let it become a thing where you're an asshole now because of it. My biggest thing in my own healing journey and my growth, for me, when you expand, when you grow, you're being challenged on so many different aspects of the journey of life, right? And when you're in business, it's like I think everything relates to life, but business for me is a mirror of my life. It's the same thing, like you said, the way that you do one thing is the way that you do all things. And so when you're having a great month of great sales, how do you feel about that? Versus when you're having a month of low sales, like the ego is there, but it's there to teach you. For me, the ego is there to remind us that we are human. We do have, these limiting beliefs at times. We do have these negative thoughts. And the way that you don't become an asshole is to not project those insecurities onto other people in some way, shape, or form,
Mhm.
right? And so it's to be a business owner for me is to be a leader. And so it's like, are you checking with yourself on a daily basis of when these things pop off for you, and are you understanding of where they're coming from, why it is that you're feeling insecure, why is it you felt that way, and how to not let that affect your service, right? Like, what's the bigger picture here? What are you really trying? What's the bigger what's your mission for this time that you have here on earth? And so for me, business is very spiritual. It's very soulful for me. It's what keeps me in check. I always say that, we are souls living the human experience, and to be human is to have an ego. So you have to have that part of self. You don't let it bleed into other parts in a negative aspect by checking yourself and having a reminder of like, what are you here to do at this time, and what is the bigger vision. Like something as simple as launching or putting a new product out there or trying something new. You're going to have all these defeating thoughts, which I'm sure you can speak into,
Oh yeah.
of times where you've struggled. And, we all go through that. It's part of being human. And then remembering, like, well, I'm going to see it through. I'm going to see it through because I said that I would. And this is the greater mission here. And you're helping me remind myself too. And remember, like, that's what I did on the blocks too. Like by day 4 or 5, I was exhausted. We all were exhausted.
Yeah.
We were learning a lot. We were being recorded all the time. Like it was just a lot of like competitive energy. And listen, I am a go hard. I will compete to the last, hour. But in that arena, I was exhausted. So something that my coaches and mentors have always taught me is to just see it through. You signed up for this thing. You're doing this thing for a greater purpose. For me, being seen on TV was like, how can I help more people? How can I allow people to learn more about my business and what I do for a living? That's my ego, right? That's the ego. And also how can I be of service? Letting, God, source, higher power have complete reign after like, okay, why were we put together in that timeline? All the people that we met, all the coaches, Wes, everybody. And what was my duty at that time? What was my service to others at that time? And how could I just let that bleed through in an organic way? And so I'll say, similar to you, I think, days 1, 2, and 3, I was kind of confused as to like what am I supposed to be doing here at this time? Like everyone's here to sell themselves. Like I don't want to be, like
Yeah.
salesy or pitchy or whatever may have you. It's like how can I be of service? And then by days, 4, 5, and 6, people were asking to see me. Like, hey, I've heard about you. Hey, can you help me with this? And that is a testament of our energy of like what are we here to do and what is the greater mission here. So just echoing what you're saying, and I wholeheartedly resonate with all of that.
Mm. No, that's really big, and to unpack it a little bit, people need to understand more of that. So they probably got to play that part back and re-listen to it as many times as possible, because I'll tell you this: sometimes people will try to fill in their ego when they don't have the money, right? Because they feel they got to have this
Talk
persona.
about it.
They
Yeah.
feel they got to have this, like, oh, I'm a business owner, so that means I'm successful. No, it doesn't. And to go back to another point that you said earlier, like, if we're going to talk money, I'll spoil this for you because it was spoiled for me. Now, mind you, again, the two guys that I learned from, and that I've been learning from over the years, both of them, many B's, not M's, many B's.
Okay.
That just one of their multiple businesses is already evaluated at $16 billion. That's debt free, that they got an offer for and they said no. Right. And so understand at this caliber, when we're talking billions,
Yeah, yeah.
this is what was said to me. The problems don't go away. The struggles, the stress, none of it goes away. So if you're in business to try to fill a void as far as, I want to get to this income because then all of my problems go away,
Yep.
they don't. So I am nowhere near there. Our company does make seven figures. We're good, but we're not in the billions.
Sure.
And so even at this level, if you want to take it away from there, because somebody could sit and think, well, if I had $1 billion, blah, blah, you're not thinking of it right. The problems don't go away. You get carved into this person that gets better at solving the problems and dealing with the problems because they never go away.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started in business, a couple $1,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, like, that would break me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then now at the stage that we're at, that's like a normal thing. Making a mistake like that, we don't want to make that kind of mistake, but we're not going to be worried about shutting down if that were to happen.
Right.
Right. So, but you don't just get the money and then the problems go away, or like you don't get the money and then you change.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change first, because what you're actually doing this whole journey is you get paid in alignment with your ability to take on stress and solve problems.
Yeah.
That's what a business is, right? So it's not about how good you market. It's not about how many leads you get. It's not about how creative your logo is. It's not about any of that.
Right.
You get paid right now. And even if you're an employee listening to this, it doesn't matter what you do. The income you get right now is directly aligned with your ability to handle stress and solve problems.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the money that you're getting and you want more, then you have to learn how to take on more stress and solve more problems while under that stress.
Wow. Yeah.
So understand this. It doesn't matter. $1 million won't change your life. $10 million won't change your life. It will a little bit. But if you're not the person that can actually handle that stuff, I'm just telling you, the money doesn't solve the problems. And, it's easy to say if blah, blah, blah. You're not hearing me.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter. If people who are telling me that their companies generate billions of dollars a year saying the problems still don't go away, you just have bigger ones, but you deal with them better.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're there, I'm going to listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if that's too far of a gap for someone to comprehend, just use me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our company does good in revenue. The problems are still there. I deal with stress and problems every day, but I developed this kind of like callus over time to have thicker skin. And it's easier for me to deal with the problems because I've dealt with them so often. They never go away. So don't go into business to solve a problem because you're also trying to fill a void. Use that ego and that competitiveness, if you have it, to find out what problem you solve and then become massively obsessed with being the best one at solving that problem, which means you have to know your industry. That means you also have to compete. A little side note, something that frustrates the fuck out of me is when people say, and there's nothing, let me give context. I'm my own competition. If you end your sentence there, that frustrates the fuck out of me because you're going to lose. So you can compete with yourself and get better every day and compare yourself to yourself. But you also need to compete with the people in your industry, because if you're running your own race, you're the fastest in the race because you're not going up against anybody.
Right.
How do you ever grow?
Right.
The people that win, that want to solve a problem for the masses, if you really want to make an impact like people say they do, out of obligation, you know you're going to compete. You're going to want to go look at who's doing better than you. Because one, that's how you learn from them. You advance in your business faster. And when you get bigger, you can solve more problems. Your impact and that ripple effect becomes bigger. But not if you only focus on yourself.
Yeah.
The harsh reality of it, and people can hate it all they want, is when you're just saying, I compete with myself and I don't look at others as competition, and you complete your sentence at that, that's just you trying to validate to yourself on why you're fucking losing. Like, pay attention to the people that say that. They are losing.
Yeah. Ego, they're hurt. They're hurt. My side of things is to give people not the benefit of the doubt, but it's like, yeah, your trauma showing. Like you're just hurt. Your ego is really taking the forefront right now, and it's not being checked. Okay, so this has been a powerhouse of a conversation. We have about 3 minutes, and I really want to anchor in this last point. You've taught us so much. Please replay the parts that really stood out to you, because these are gems. I want to bring to light that. You already said it, right? So can you shed light on something in your life? It could be business or personal that, more money, more impact. It honestly just means more responsibility. And how well are you at managing that responsibility, which looks like stress, honestly. So I wholeheartedly, agree with that statement. What's something in your life that you're learning to become better at? Something that isn't easy for you right now that, sometimes you feel like you're losing your way a little bit while you're navigating through it.
So I'll use this term. I'm going to try my best to do it in this time because there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
It's the word balance, right? So people talk about work-life balance and they do it all in the wrong way, 99% of the time. People try to, and I used to do this, which is why I can speak to it. Just like I used to have bad credit, now I help people because here's a term. You are the most qualified to help the people that you used to be. So think about that for a second. You are the most qualified to help the people or person that you used to be. So being in a place of someone with this is where I'm going. So when you say things like that, you have to understand how powerful what you're saying is. If you go back to God, universe, higher power, whatever it is that you believe in, when you speak things into existence and you also think those things, they actually become true. If you want the scientific side of it, it is your reticular activating system. And to save the time, you guys can go Google that and learn more. But going back to the balance, we try to measure, I'm going to do this many hours on work, this many hours with family, this many hours for myself, and you think of it day to day. The advice that I would like to leave everybody with is you have to understand, stop rushing to the end destination, because that's why you're measuring balance wrong. You're thinking of the end goal. So what it should be is balance over life. So, and by life, I mean literally to when you die. So yes, when you're starting a business, you have to put 1,000,000% into it in the first year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, which means you're going to neglect your family. A lot of things are going to offset. But when you have somebody who's a true life partner, like my wife is great for this, she stuck by my side when things weren't going good. And I put all of it into the business and I was barely available. So people say, oh, you're so imbalanced. What about your family? What about whatever? Yeah, well, go talk to them today. Go see how we live today. And we get to do a lot of things that we couldn't do before, because the measurement of balance was over our lifespan, not over our days
Day to
or
day.
the next 7 days. It was like, okay,
Mm,
I will sacrifice the next 3 years if
mm.
that means for the next 20 years, we can do whatever we want as a family.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. That's what's funny. We spoke. We are short on time. I might have to bring you back, Dylan. But we're so. This is so good. You're absolutely right. Like yes, it's balance over the longevity of your life, and not just a day to day. Which listen, if you're someone who is in entrepreneurship or a leader of any sort in your life, business, career, family, like you have to have the ability to see beyond next week, next month, next year. You really have to see the bigger picture, which is what I'm gaining from you. So thank you, Dylan. This was an amazing conversation. I absolutely love learning more about you. You're such a powerhouse. You're so humble. And I'm glad that we've connected in this fashion. So thank you, Dylan. How can people find you before we let you go?
Yeah, thank you also for having me. This was awesome. Easiest way, just go to dylanshively.com. I'm sure my name will pop up somewhere
Yes.
so you can look at the spelling, but just go to dylanshively.com. It will bring all social media, reviews, websites, everything with our credit management business. You can find everything about me and everything we do at dylanshively.com. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.